Hello and welcome to Channels Book Club. My name is Olakunle Kasumu, and it's great to be on this show where we just like to discuss books. And we've got an interesting one for you this week. Know your rights. That's a big one because we all just live every day in Nigeria and across the world. But how many of us really know our rights? How many of us know the laws that govern our country? The laws that have to do with traffic, with marriage, with parenting, business, relationships, taxes, etc., etc., etc. There are so many of those laws, but how many of us know those laws? How many of us know our rights when it comes to being citizens or being tenants or being landlords or as the case may be? So many things out there. This young man who visited us and shared with us his very intriguing, very interesting, captivating, relevant book just exposed our eyes to so many aspects of the law that I'm pretty sure, like myself, you probably might have missed somewhere. But this is a book for everybody. It's an important book, really important. Everybody should have a copy of this book and read it occasionally. And when you have issues, just flip to the particular chapter that is relevant. And I mean, just so many eye-popping moments when you go through that book. Well, let me say no more. Let's allow our guest author to explain some of these things and introduce his book to us. Let's get to meet with him and then dive in. Enjoy this.
Koko Asuquo is a lawyer and author. Asuquo is an alumnus of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi in Ghana. He is a member of the Nigerian Bar Association, a fellow, Young African Leaders Initiative, YALI, and a former director at Junior Chamber International, JCI, in Lagos. Asuquo joins Channels Book Club to discuss his book, Know Your Rights.
Koko, nice to have you on Channels Book Club.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
And congratulations on this Know Your Rights series, a legal guide for everyday life. Look, this is not flattery. Incredible work you've done here.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
You lawyers like to call the rest of us laymen, and yourselves learned men. We admit.
We are learned.
But the idea, I guess, your idea was to take the Nigerian law and put it in a form that laymen can find it easy to read and come and get up to speed with the law, right?
Yes, please. Yes.
I would like you to introduce the book to the viewers.
All right, thank you very much. So the book is Know Your Rights series, a legal guide for everyday life. And just like the subtitle presupposes, it's just something to guide you to be able to navigate through life. You know, there is that perception, you know, that general perception that law is boring, law is difficult to understand, tedious, complex, and every other thing, you know. So the whole idea is, you know what, let's just put law in a very simple and basic form so that anybody can read and understand. So you have any issue, just pick up the book and then you read and understand. We have 52 topics in the book. So the idea is that there are 52 weeks in a year. So even if you don't like reading law, you know, you can just pick up one topic and read
one topic per
week.
In a year, you can become a son.
At the end of the day, you have gone through. And even beyond that, the idea also is that there are topics that cuts across everyday life. So even if you have an issue, you can just pick it up and just, okay, for instance, you have marital issues, you want to divorce your spouse, you can just pick it up and then have an idea, you know, of what you are supposed to do. You have issues with your landlord, or you are a landlord, you have issues with your tenant, you can pick it up, read it, and then you know what to do, and so forth, and, you know, so on and so forth.
I mean, Koko, this is really, really interesting. I'm sure Nigerians will love to read, will love your book. Yes. This book will become it should become a bestseller. I mean, it's something everybody should read. Yes. Change of name after marriage.
Yes.
Do you know that it is compulsory to register every birth with a registrar of birth in the National Population Commission of the area where a person is born.
Yeah.
So you have all this do you know
Yeah.
parts.
Yes.
So you start each chapter with those pointers.
Yes.
Do you know? And then you also have brain teasers.
Yes, please.
Is it mandatory under the law for a woman to adopt her husband's name after marriage?
Yes.
What is the acceptable document for a change of name, right?
Yes, please.
And you've got all that for 52 different topics.
Yes, please. Absolutely.
I would like you to share with us 2 of these topics that many Nigerians should know,
Okay.
but don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, so that they can, you can use that to tease people, so they can get excited about, find out what else you've got in here.
Absolutely. Okay, so thank you. So the first one, of course, is the landlord and tenant issues.
The landlord and tenant.
Yes, landlord and tenant. For instance, there is this perception by tenants that, the landlord owes you 6 months notice, and that is not entirely accurate. So when your rent expires, you find tenants will tell the landlord, okay, my rent has expired, give me my 6 months notice. But that is not absolutely correct. The reason being that in Lagos, the law is that your tenancy agreement determines the length of notice when the landlord wants to terminate the tenancy and kick you out of the property. So if the landlord gives you a tenancy agreement and the tenancy agreement says 3 months notice, 2 months notice, 1 month notice, that stands. It is only if there is no tenancy agreement or the tenancy agreement is silent as to the length of notice.
Then the law of the state kicks in.
The law of the state kicks in.
How did I know that? I learned that from your book, by the way. So, let me pose as if I'm knowledgeable.
Thank you.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah, when I read that part, I was like, okay. So if your agreement with your landlord expires April 4,
yes,
the landlord can give you quit notice on April 5.
No,
as long as...
Yes.
I mean, what you're saying is that it is not compulsory for the landlord to give you 6 months,
Absolutely.
like a lot of people assume.
Absolutely.
It's not automatic.
It's not automatic.
So it depends on the agreement.
First and foremost.
First and foremost.
Yes.
And where it is silent in the agreement, then the law of the state kicks in.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes,
absolutely. But what if the agreement contradicts the law of the state? Okay.
In terms of notice, it wouldn't contradict the law because the law gives that liberty to the parties, that's the landlord and the tenant, to contract any way they want to. Okay. So once you have signed 3 months, 2 months, 1 month in the tenancy agreement, that stands.
Okay.
However, if it is silent or there's no tenancy agreement, that the provision of the law kicks in depending on the length of the tenancy, whether it's a yearly tenancy, half-yearly tenancy, monthly tenancy, weekly tenancy, and all that.
Okay. I think we got that from the first section, which is under personal and family rights, right?
Yes, please.
Rights of the tenants, tenant versus landlord.
Yes, please.
Then you now did rights of landlord.
Exactly.
Yeah, landlord versus tenant.
Yes, to balance it.
So that tenants will not think this is all for them. Okay?
Exactly.
Then you did purchasing of real estate. I found that one interesting too because here you said, let me read from page 18. Here you wrote that, do you know that certificate of occupancy, which everybody calls C of O.
C of O, yes.
And a deed of assignment registered in the land registry are the only valid documents that prove ownership of landed property.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
But most people don't think so.
Well, so it slightly differs depending on your location. And one thing I found about the law is that sometimes the law says one thing, but that's not the acceptable practice. So what people, okay, let me take us back. For instance, in the East, they use power of attorney, and it's acceptable to them, and they have been using it. So if you go to the East and you ask a person for C of O, you want to buy land, and you're asking the vendor for C of O, the vendor will just look at you like, what's C of O? So it's not the acceptable practice there, but that is what is acceptable to them. But what the law ought to be is that it is supposed to be a C of O or a deed of assignment. Now Lagos has introduced what they call governor's consent. So in Lagos as well, governor's consent, which is still C of O, but it's slightly different in terms of form terms of the format, but the substance is still basically governor's consent, which is what is contained in the deed as well as the CFO. So, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so that was one before I interrupted you. What's the second one you were going to mention?
Okay, so in terms of what?
In terms of, I asked you two of these tips here that most people should know, but
they don't really know. Okay, that was one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what was the second one?
Okay, the second one I would like to talk about is because we have a relatively large population. So let me go to the issues with police and searching of young people and all that. Now, I mean, that is actually settled. That I think the IG has come out to say that police don't have the right to search your bag, to search your phone. However, if there is reasonable suspicion of crime, police can search. But again, there are rules as to how they are supposed to go about the search. So, for instance, now, let me talk about stop and search generally. So,
stop and search.
Let me talk about stop and search.
Which chapter is that? Can you remember?
That should be.
You may not remember, eh?
That should be towards the end.
Towards the end. Section C. Section F?
Yeah, F.
Citizens and police and government agencies.
Yes.
Youth versus police. 238.
Yeah, youth versus
all the NSAS champions will like this part. 238.
That's actually a very, very sensitive topic.
Very sensitive.
Yeah.
Can the police, I mean, sorry to, your brain teasers here say, can the police arrest a person for failing to repay their debts? Does the police have the right to search a person's mobile phones, laptops, and other electronic devices, which is in line with what you are saying?
Yes, please.
So you can just finish up on that.
Okay, so in terms of debts, it's clear police don't have the right to, be used as debt recovery tools. Debt recovery agents, So if you have debt and you want to recover debt, you're just supposed to go to court. However, if the debt came from crime, so crime was committed, maybe, for instance, obtaining under false pretense, then, of course, you can go to the police or you can go to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, depending on the facts of the case. That's on one side. So for search, generally, police have the right to search you. It's given, you understand. But again, the Constitution also protects your right to privacy. So for them, they cannot just stop you on the road and get your phone, because having access, getting your phone, they will obviously have access to sensitive documents, sensitive files, which are actually your private files, private document, and that would evade your right to privacy. So that's where the law draws the line. And then subsequently, their own rules of engagement specifies, for instance, stop and search generally. You are driving and police stops you, they ought to identify themselves. They have to be on uniform, for instance, with their name tag on it, except those on special assignments, special forces, special assignments. But the ones that stand on the road to do stop and search, they must be properly kitted with their uniforms and their name tags. So when they stop you, first thing, introduce yourself. Okay, I'm from so-and-so police station, officer this, from so-and-so police station. I'm here to do stop and search. Can I check your boots or something like that, your trunk or things like that? You grant them access and you don't obstruct their ability to carry out. But the condition is that there must be reasonable suspicion of crime. So nobody has been able to define that word, reasonable suspicion. So it's just a case of facts. Do they reasonably suspect that, you are carrying a contraband item or, there's something incriminating in your car? Then they can carry out that search. Then if they find you culpable, they can decide to arrest you. Again, force, they are not supposed to use force. What I was guarding against was force. It is only if you resist. And if you resist, they can use reasonable force to be able to carry out that function. And also, if they want to arrest you, again, rules of engagement detects that if it is female, it has to be female to female. If it is male, male officer to a male officer. So a female officer should come to arrest a male, and a male officer, vice versa. So that rules of engagement requires that. So if you see VIPs, for instance, you see that maybe the first lady will have like a female police ADC behind her or something like that. Yeah. So that's just the idea behind it.
Now, you wrote here that, do you know, that in a chapter titled Marriage and Spousal Rights,
okay.
Husband versus wife.
Okay, yes.
Do you know that a marriage conducted in a religious institution like a church or mosque, that is a licensed place of worship, has the same legal effect as a marriage performed at the marriage registry? Huh?
Absolutely, yes. That's actually correct.
And that pointer came as a result of your brain teaser,
yes,
which the question, if a marriage is contracted in a place of worship, is there any need to perform further rites at the marriage registry. So why do people always do registry, church, reception? What's going on?
Okay, so that was another thing I should have pointed out when you asked that question, but I actually forgot. So yes, so marriage under the Act is basically marriage in the registry or in a licensed place of worship. Now, the registry obviously is registry of the government where that they are licensed to conduct marriages. Now, the law also allows the registry to license certain places of worship to be able to conduct marriages. And if that church or mosque is licensed to carry out marriage, then you don't need to go to the registry again. So, for instance, the registry there is supposed to be under the local government because, take for instance, okay, I attend Harvesters, for instance. Harvesters has Harvesters International Christian Center. They have branches in Bagada, Lekki, on the mainland, Antoni, and so forth. Now, Harvesters Lekki could be licensed to conduct marriages, but Harvesters Bagada might not be licensed to conduct marriages. So if you marry in Harvesters Lekki that is licensed to conduct marriages, you don't need to do another marriage at the registry. That's like doing the same thing more than once. It has no legal effect. It has the same legal effects rather, because whether you marry at the registry, you marry in church that is licensed, they are all at par. They all have the same legal effect. So what you need to do is to go on the website. I provided the link in the book. So when you check that website, you just type in your church. It will, your local government and the church, it will give to, there's a list of licensed places of worship on the website.
Whether your church is licensed
you know whether
or not.
your church is licensed.
And once you do it in your church, you don't need to go and do registry again.
As long as the church is licensed.
As long as the church is registered.
Yes, but however, I also know that for purposes of JACPA, and not picture now. So I think there are some countries that specifically want you to marry at Ikoyi registry. So that's why you see people come all the way from the south, from the east to come to Ikoyi. So I think there's that requirement, yes, as the one that is recognized from Nigeria. But it's, as far as Nigeria is concerned, you don't have anything to do with JACPA. There's no special requirement from a country you are going to that it must be in Ikoyi. Once you marry in a licensed place of worship, it is.
That's why Ikoyi registry is always full.
Yes, please, because I know for a fact that some countries only what, if you are trying to establish that you guys are married, then they will only recognize Ikoyi registry. From Nigeria, they only recognize some countries, not all the countries, but I know some countries, because I had some friends that they were specifically told that the marriage must be performed at Ikoyi registry.
Interesting.
Yes. So.
In your chapter titled Writing a Will.
Yes, please.
So your brain teaser, the question, what is the minimum age requirements to write a will?
Yes.
And how can a property purchased after writing a will or not expressly mentioned in a will be shared? Okay. This is a very important question.
Very, very important. Very, very important.
So your first pointer, do you know that only an adult can make a will, and the age that qualifies as an adult varies depending on the will's law of the state?
Yes, please.
Do you know that in the Federal Capital Territory, governed by the Wills Act, a person must be at least 21 to make a will, while in Lagos, under the Wills law, a person must be 18 or older to create a will? Interesting.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Yes. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was the same all across.
I know, it varies. It varies.
So you have to be 21 to be able to do a will in
Abuja, because under the Act.
But in Lagos, you can be 18.
Under the Wills law of Lagos, yes. The Wills law of Lagos says 18. And so the law always varies. Sometimes when the law says adult, some laws will say mean adult is from 18, some 21. So like Land Use Act now is 21 years. When it talks about adults, it's 21 years.
Oh,
for purposes of land transaction, yes.
Wow.
So it depends on the law and what transaction is involved.
And to answer your first teaser there, you said in the pointer, do you know that any property acquired after writing a will or not mentioned can be gifted or shared as stipulated in the residuary clause of the will? What does that mean? So
in a will, you typically have a clause called the residuary clause. So the residuary clause is basically a clause that says any property that you acquire subsequently, or any property that you have at the point of writing the will that you have not mentioned in the will, then that particular property should be inherited by the beneficiary under the residuary clause. So whoever you are giving the residuary clause to as the beneficiary, that person will inherit it. So sometimes a person might be old, might not remember all your assets. So you put a residuary clause to take care of that. Or maybe it's for subsequent purchases. So if you acquire subsequent properties after making the will, instead of having to come back to change or amend with a codicil or completely write a new will, you can still use that residuary to take care of. So residuary just means what is left over from what I've shared. So my son, Basi, my son, Kudle can take that one.
Okay.
That's
what is the most interesting thing under the chapter on divorce that most people should know about?
When I was growing up, I used to watch Nollywood movies. So, when they want to divorce, let's sign the divorce papers. That's quite common, and that's quite the approach, what is done outside of Nigeria. Like in the United States, you just sign papers, and that's it. But in Nigeria, that's not the case. In as much as we are married under the act or in the licensed place of worship, you have to go to court to file for divorce. That's it. So people must know that. So there's nothing like let's sign divorce papers. And I think Nollywood, they have to help us to correct. They have to help us.
That's what you just said now is in page 53, titled Divorce.
Divorce, yes.
I'm sure by now viewers know that they have to read this book.
I'm sure.
Where can we find this book? Those of us who are interested, where do we find it?
So you have digital copies online, and the website Seller, you can find it on Amazon as well. But if you want hard copies, just walk into any Roving Heights bookstores nationwide.
You'll find it there.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. You didn't touch on volume 2.
Oh, yeah. This is volume 1.
Yeah,
where's volume 2?
Volume 2 is out. Volume 2 is out.
It's out. You've got volume 2 there.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
And I'm also working on something for the teenagers, 6 to 16 years, or 8 to 16 years or thereabouts, and I also have something for the kids. So it's going to be for everybody.
Oh,
so I have
fantastic.
something for the kids, I have something for teenagers as well.
Fantastic. So on the final notes, I think we've got a pretty good idea what's in here. So many interesting stuff in here. But on the final notes, you now, the author, what inspired you to study law?
Should I be frank?
Be frank.
It's the prestige.
The prestige.
I just wanted to be the first lawyer in my family, the first lawyer in my clan, the first lawyer in my community, the prestige. That's why I came with my suit.
That's a good, honest answer.
That's the honest suit. It's the prestige. I'm sure my dad is watching.
So are you happy with that decision?
Of course, absolutely. If I had to do it again, if I had to take that decision, I would choose law. I might not do it the traditional way. I'll go into other areas, but I'll see.
How many years have you practiced law now?
About 12, 13 years now.
13
years now. Yeah, it's been a very, very promising one.
Right. It's great to host you here. The second volume, I think we should have time for this too.
No problem.
A collection of short legal stories for everyday life.
Yeah.
Oh, so the format of this is different?
It's different, yes. Storytelling format. Okay. This is more of storytelling.
To teach the law.
To teach the
everyday thing. And the stories are not too long. Not too long.
So for those that enjoy, so I just tried something different with volume 2. So it's still most of the topics, but something different in the sense that, some people enjoy stories, so let's put it in story format. Some are fiction, some are non-fiction, some are real-life scenarios, something that's happened in the past, something that has been trending. I just put it in the form of a story, and then people can read. So.
Great. Koko, it's been nice to have you on Channel's Book Club and having this conversation with you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I don't take it for granted. I've been trying to come to this program for a long time. Thank you. Thank you. We're honored to have you here. Thank you. And the work you're doing is fantastic. I think this is something Nigeria needs, Nigerians need, and I hope that people really go out there to get their own copies, and it's something to have at home, something to always flip through once in a while. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
That was just a tip. So much packed in there. That book is just fantastic. You have to get yourself a copy. Now read it. And then send us your comments. Let's know what you think about some of the ideas, some of the laws, some of those things that we've been introduced to in Koko's book. This is where we have to end the show today. As always, we'll be very delighted to get your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.